Lizzie's workshop and my first project as a member of the Kraaft design team. I introduced you to the mixed media kit that is being sold at the Kraaft and I will link it into the bottom of this video to get to the kit so that you can pick one up yourself or see what's in it, or however your interests fancy you. The first project that I'm going to do for this design team is I'll use my alterable item and the supplies in my kit, or some of them rather, and I'm going to alter this little picture frame. I had a lot of ideas for this picture frame, and the minute that I saw it, I had this vision of a garden gate, or a hole in a brick wall that you would look through to see a photo of something else on the other side. And so I started off with wanting to have a paper base so that I would have something that was absorbent, so that I could have all kinds of different mediums and colors and stuff to go onto this as the layers come through here. So I grabbed my dictionary pages from my mixed media kit and I ripped them all up, and what I'm doing for this is normally I wouldn't worry too much about the direction of the text, but for this project, for some reason, I really did want the text to be upright, and I think that it was because I wanted to support the linear function of a brick wall. So in the event that you could see the writing on the wall, so to speak, at the end, I did want it to be in a horizontal state and not a vertical state. So I'm just going to continue on here, make sure that I have every single piece of the wood covered with the paper so that everything is nice and absorbent, and I can go on from there. So as I said, this is the first project that I'm doing for the Kraaft mixed media design team. I am on the second round of the mixed media design team, and with that I've already had quite a few people doing the projects ahead of me. So first was the first round of the design team, which you can find at thekraaft.com. I'll link that link into here as well. And the second is that most of the other design team members from this round have already put through their first projects as well. So I'm kind of the caboose of the pack here. So hopefully you like this project and get inspired by it. So these pages, I'm only putting the golden matte gel on the bottom of the pages. I'm not putting it on the top of the pages because I don't want the pages to be sealed. I want it to make sure that I can have them nice and absorbent, so that when I put something on top, like an ink or a spray or anything else, that there's going to be some absorption or a little bit of bleed and a little bit of color differentiation as the sprays and stuff go on. So I am only covering the back side of the papers, leaving the front side open for further meddling. I like the horizontal imagery of this. I like having the letters all upright and all the text horizontal, because I really did want to have it so that in the event that you saw any of the text through all the different layers that I'm going to put on, I did want it to be linear when it got to that point. So, and then I realized that I was making it so that it was kind of a scaling effect, and I didn't want that scaling effect. So I switched around here and I started to do things a little bit more randomly, and then I ran out of paper. So I had to go and grab my next dictionary page and continue on with this process. I ripped off the solid white parts of the page because I really didn't need them for the effect that I was going for. I know that this video is really fast and maybe a little bit dizzy, but I was having the problem with trying to keep this video under an hour, and it came down to me having to eliminate a lot of stuff out. Later on you'll see me using some flowers. I did hand make some of those flowers and some of the leaves that I'm going to be using, and I had to eliminate those portions of the video in order to get it down below 1 hour. Another thing is that I had to speed it up quite significantly, because this was an 8-hour project that with all the drying time and all the different layers I put on and stuff like that. It really did take me quite a long time. Now, it didn't need to take me all that long, just simply because I could have used my heat gun to dry everything, but with the way that everything ended up working out, I could work on it for a little while and then go off and do something else, and then work on it for a little while and go off and do something else. But still, by the time that I was done, I did have a little bit over 8 hours worth of production time. So, like I said, you're going to have to go and hunt down the videos for making the flowers and making the leaves if you're interested in that. Once you see them, that is. So now that I'm almost at the point where I have all of this paper on here, I've been looking at it going, okay, so this is covered and what's my next plan? And I didn't really know which direction I wanted to go. I knew I did want the brick wall, but I didn't know 100% of what I wanted. So I'm just kind of playing around and doing little stuff while I think about which direction I'm going to go in. It looks like I'm thinking quickly, but that's just because it's 3 times fast. So I went and I cut the paper off the bottom edge there, and the reason that I did that is because I want the frame to stand square and I want it to stand solid. I don't want it to be tippy at all. So I did cut off the end so that it would be nice and smooth edge at the bottom. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to test out what colors of dyes I have, what colors of dye inks and stains that I have. And I'm using the vintage Stampin' Up! Ink. And I had 3. I had charcoal, I had tea stain, and I had mahogany. And when I put them on when I put them onto the page, I decided that mahogany was the color that I was going to go for. And now, to tell you the truth, I put way too much of this ink in here. It turned out quite a bit darker than I had expected it to, but we got that figured out later on in the end as well. What I'm using here is a white sand sample. It's a Finnabair Art Extravagance by Prima. It is a texture paste, and this was part of my, well, maybe not. Nope. This is something that you can get at the Kraaft Shaak. It wasn't part of my mixed media kit, but you can get it at the Kraaft Shaak. And I ended up using my entire sample of white sand for this, but I did only have the sample size. And that just comes in a small sauce container kind of size, like you would get at a sub place or a sandwich bar. And so I did use that entire thing, and I did use an entire dropper full of the ink stain, the dye stain from mahogany. And I mixed that up. I would have mixed it in the little container, except that it wasn't big enough and I was worried about a lot of spillage. So then I grabbed this stencil, and I believe that it is a Crafter's Workshop stencil. And I just love brick walls. If you've ever followed me on Pinterest, or you've ever taken a look at my art as a whole, I do tend to gravitate towards the brick walls of things, and I'm not exactly certain why. I think that I just like the graphic of it. Might come from my landscape design background, just the whole idea of graphics over actual images and things. Now, I didn't eliminate this. I did want to show you this. I took that stencil and I rubbed it off, and then I flipped it off and put it on another baby wipe and I rubbed it off. And what I'm going to do is, now I have that soft texture of the baby wipe in the graphic of the brick wall. So I'm going to be able to let those baby wipes dry, and then I'm going to have a nice soft brick wall to use for another project. And I wouldn't have left that in there, except that I'm really excited about using them for something else. There's not much that you create in mixed media that's actual garbage. You can always kind of find another way to upcycle things. And some people don't like to do that, but I can tell you that my craft room is definitely full of the bits and pieces of projects that I've already completed. And I do find homes for them. I do find other projects that will use those bits and pieces. So nothing really ever goes to waste in my workshop. So this is a sand paste, so it's nice and thick, so it does smear, and that's why I'm having to go over it a couple times, because I don't want to have dragging of the sand in the bricks. I do want it to be nice and smooth. or at least to look textured and feel textured, but to appear also that it's an even texture. And by the way, when this is done, I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it. There's nothing bad about this at all. So I've gone through and I've used all this, and now I'm going to pull off that stencil and let it dry. You can tell how much darker and shinier it got as it dried. And now I'm going to kind of realign things a little bit and finish off this frame with the brick wall. As you can see, I'm getting pretty low on my brick wall substrate there, so I'm pretty glad that this stretched exactly as far as I wanted it to go. Now keep in mind that this was very thick that I'm putting it on here because I do want the heavy texture of a brick wall. I'm not going light on this at all. I'm going very, very heavy. So that kind of gives you the impression that these little samples don't go very far, but I think it really depends on the medium. This, because of the project that I'm doing, it doesn't go very far simply because I'm using it so much and I'm adding so many different layers on here. So in the event that I had used this for a different project, I probably could have used it for several projects, the white sand sample. So in the future, I will be buying a bigger container of this white sand because I really like the fact that I can color it any color I want and get the texture and image and feel that I want from it. So now I'm just cleaning out the container because there's not a whole lot in the container, so I'm cleaning it out by adding it to the baby wipe, and then I'm cleaning the stencil and distributing the rest of it throughout the whole baby wipe. And once again, that gives me the soft textured brick wall. While they dry, the ink that I put in there does disperse a little bit, so it won't be exactly perfect for the brick wall, but I will show you that another day. So what I'm showing you here is that I took one of the little mini mister bottles, I think that you can buy them from Ranger, and I added the charcoal dye ink to some water, and now I'm trying to change the color of the mortar that would be between the bricks. Now I did let the bricks dry overnight, so everything is nice and solid, and then I'm spraying it after that, and then I'm going to take some water with a pipette and fill it back up and water it down a little bit and put it some more on there. Once all of the paper is nice and saturated, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the charcoal eyedropper or the dropper from the ink, and I'm going to drip it in different places so that it drips and runs down between the different layers of the bricks. Well, and if you look at this right now, you can tell that where I don't have paper, the ink is going right into the wood, and where I do have paper, it's not going through. It's staying right on top of the surface. That was another reason for me to cover it with basically a collage effect and the matte gel, was to give it a little bit of a sealant and protectant for the wood. So once I have all the drips on and everything's dry there, I decided to take my heat gun to it. Now this isn't going to work very well because the stain does not do a very good job of absorbing or of drying, and it stays kind of tacky, and it will stay kind of tacky for a couple of days. I think that it finally got to a point where I could touch it without getting black hands after a couple of days. But it will stay a mess. It doesn't matter how much I dry it. I've tried it on several projects. I always end up smearing anything that I've put this ink on. Now, I don't think you can buy this product anymore because it is a Stampin' Up! Vintage product. But if you can, then keep in mind that it is a very long drying time. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my chalkboard paint. This is something that did not come in my mixed media kit, but you can get this color as part of a sample in your mixed media kit, and this color is called Jewel Blue. And I have to be honest that I absolutely adore this Jewel Blue chalkboard paint, and I have used it on a lot of projects, and it's not even half empty yet. So as far as bang for your buck when it comes to mixed media, if you want a very, very opaque paint that will basically go over top of anything, and be as a nice solid top coat for anything, then this is a paint to go to, this chalkboard paint. It's just fabulous. I do find it a little bit difficult to put other things on top of it, and you'll find that kind of idea if you go back and review the projects from the last design team, that some people did struggle with putting things on top of it. But I find that as a top coat, and as far as it goes with being opaque and being solid and just fabulous paint, this is a place to go. This is a fabulous product. And it's also by Prima Marketing, and you can also get several different colors from the craftshack.com in their store. I can link you to those products as well in the bottom of this video. All of my comment section is going to be links, and Heather Crafter is going to tell me my check's in the mail. It's an inside joke, of course, but that's what she's probably going to end up telling me. Well, mind you, don't tell her I said that, or now she won't say it. Prove me wrong. So the reason that I'm painting the back of this is because I wanted it to kind of blend in with the project that I'm creating. Now, with that said, I think I just love this blue because nothing that I end up putting on this project is that blue. So I end up towards the end having to improvise, bring this paint in on the front of the project, and also to make it so that it actually exists on the front of the project. Through the magic of film there, I did skip forward a little bit. Sorry about that, but like I said, this was quite a long project. Once I have that paint on there, I did let it dry overnight. More so because I went on to create the flowers that I'm going to use at the front of this than anything else, but also it allowed it to dry nice and heavy. And I did use my heat gun a little bit so that it wouldn't, I wouldn't have a problem with it overnight. The nice thing about this is that as I used my heat gun on it, it created a little bit of a bubbling effect because that is a paint stripper rather than an actual heat gun. So it gets really intensely hot really quickly. So the next morning, once everything was dry, I went through and I grabbed this paint pen. Now, this paint pen is a Martha Stewart paint pen. I wanted a fine tip for my glue. I could have used Tombow. It has a very nice fine tip. I could have also used Zig. I think that it has a very nice fine tip as well. But for this one, I just used whatever was open in my cupboard, and that happened to be a Martha Stewart glue pen. Sorry, not paint pen, glue pen. And what I'm adding to this is not normally a crafting product. This is called Grass. Funny that. And it's from Games Workshop, and it's from Citadel. It's the company is called Citadel. And what this is used for is creating game boards where there's actual grass on the game board. So for creating landscapes for the boards for when the guys play their army games on the 4 foot by 4 foot wargaming games. So my husband is a War Machine gamer, a tabletop gamer, and this is one of the products that is, I guess you could say, out of style or out of season, and it's no longer the accepted green or the accepted color scheme or product for the landscape. And so he ended up giving me a couple tubs of this fabulous grass. I'm not sure if you can still find this grass, but I have had these probably for about 6 years, and as you can see, my container is still mostly full. I do have another one as well with a little bit different color scheme to it, and no matter how many projects I use them on, they do stay quite full. So they are meant that one container can cover about a 4 foot by 4 foot surface, so I guess I'm not quite there yet. But as you can see, I'm just putting the glue all over between the bricks, and it's kind of, my intention here is to kind of make it look like there's a bit of a moss issue growing along here. And then later on I'll use it again to create the impression that there are vines climbing up the wall. So once this was dry, there really is no solution for making this dry faster. I made sure that everything was nice and firm and patted down, and then I let it sit overnight. And I really did let it sit overnight so that I could just tap it off. The next thing I'm going to do is take my brush, and that's still not getting it because there's so much texture in those bricks. It's just not getting off the amount of grass that I want to. So I can seriously, now that it's dry overnight, I can take a toothbrush to it and scrub off the bricks, and that grass still stays nice and solid and firm on there. It's absolutely fabulous stuff. But I'm not sure where you can buy it now. So once I have that all nice and dry, I decide to take the next step, and that is to go and make it so that it looks like there are vines climbing up this brick wall. And the reason that I'm doing that is because I cut out all these fabulous little leaves, and I want it to make it look like there is ivy climbing the walls. So it'll take a while for me to go through and make it actually look like that. And there are some spots where I think, oh no, I don't have enough. And so I kind of panic a little bit, but in the end, it all works out, and I managed to get enough leaves on there to make it look at least, you know, sort of the direction I wanted it to go. I needed to have a punch that gave me different sizes of these little, they're actually maple leaves, but I only had the one size, and so I made do with that. And once again, once I have the glue on, I'll put the grass on. Once the grass is on, I'll tap it down, and then I am going to leave it overnight to dry. If I don't leave it overnight to dry, then it's just going to rub off with my finger. And that isn't going to be fun because then I have to redo it all. So there we go, and off I go across the top. I'm doing this in stages because the Martha Stewart glue, it does dry quickly, and so I do need to cover it as I lay it down so that it adheres nice and solid. And then I'll just do the next side here. I think that the inspiration for this piece came from a trip that I took several years ago. A cousin of mine and I, we had gone through the Canadian Rockies, and we were looking at ghost towns, and we stopped at this one ghost town where you can go and walk through, and there was this old brick wall that had this window looking out through it, and I guess it was like the last wall of a house. And so we each took turns taking pictures of the other person looking out through this wall. So as soon as I opened up the mixed media kit from Heather Crafter, I saw this and I thought, oh, that's going to need this kind of thing. Now, it didn't have any ivy on it when we were in the ghost town, but that is kind of the direction that I was going in, just so you can kind of understand what the concept is of what I was thinking as I was creating this. I was, as I was editing this, I was noticing all the different nail polish colors that I had throughout this video. So it really made me realize that it actually did take me 3 or 4 days to get this project finished. So that spray that I used there, that is a Color Bloom spray. It's called Deep Teal, and it is a vintage metallic. So these come in a nice, beautiful sealed container. They have all this like mica shimmer to them, and they're absolutely fabulous sprays. I haven't had any problems with the nozzles clogging at all, and I'm finding that I really like them, and I bought them also from the craftshack.com. So just from this video alone, you're getting to see a lot of how versatile the craftshack.com is, and she does end up going through trends with the people who are buying the most stuff. So if you want to have an influence on what she stocks in her store, then you're going to have to become part of her community, the crafters community, which I'll put a link to on G+ communities. and you can then go in there and become a member and influence what kinds of things she stocks in her store. Sometimes she has the same items. So there are some things that she has consistently, and there are some things that are always nice new surprises based on what people are asking for. And she's actually quite fabulous at getting us what we want in the event that she can get it. There are some suppliers that she doesn't have contacts with, but for the most part, I think she's got almost all the ones that are, you know, needed for mixed media and paper crafting. It's pretty fabulous. And she's also really great at her customer service as well. I haven't had a bad order yet, and I've had quite a few orders from Heather. And she always includes a little thank you card, and she always includes her well wishes and stuff like that. So these little leaves are the ones I was talking about, how I didn't have more than one size. I only had a single size. I did make a video about how I made the leaves. I did make a video about how I made the flowers that I'm gonna show you later on. And I did make a video about, it's all in there about where I got the color for that and all that stuff. But I'll just tell you now that this green, this beautiful olivey green color, is another one of the chalkboard paints from Prima. And it's called Golden Olive. I love these chalkboard paints, by the way. I can't get enough of them. I'd like to buy every single color. And then my husband would be knowing all my secrets, because he'd see them all stacked on my wall. So I shouldn't do that. But anyway, so what I'm doing to glue this down is I am taking the 3D gloss gel from Finnabair Art Basics by Prima. You can get this product at thekraaft.com as well. And I recently discovered this product because I took one of Finnabair's classes, and in that class she showed us how absolutely fabulous it is for gluing on 3D elements. And it's one of those things where once you figure it out, you're not going to go back. That piece of fabric there, that is a piece of cheesecloth that came in my mixed media kit, and I colored it with the Lindy's Stamp Gang Magical. This is called Canna Lily Burnt Orange, and it's from the Victorian Bouquet set, and it's a shimmery one. So what I did with this, you'll see it in the flower video when I created the flowers, but this package opened up in my bag, so I really didn't have a whole lot left of it. But in order to get more of it, what I did was I put water in the bag, and then I shook it around in the little baggie that the sample came in, and then I put it into a little mini mister. So it just goes to show you that you can definitely improvise when things don't go exactly as you had planned. So what am I using here? I am using some paper flowers that are from the Prima Flowers Botanical Mix. There's 72 pieces in a tube of these flowers. Those are the ones that I sprayed with the Color Bloom spray. Then I am using some metal components, and those metal components came in the mixed media kit as part of that. And then I'm using a bunch of other flowers that I had in my stash. What kind of flowers are they, you ask? I have no clue. Oh, wait, I have a clue. Some of them are just the Michael's paper flowers from the dollar bin. And I think that's what both of them are. I think that the white ones are from that set, and I think that the blue ones are from that set. Now these little peach colored flowers, they are the ones that I made, and that I made a video about how I made them. They use the Lindy's Stamp Gang Magical spray that I created. They use the glass beads from Finnabair Art Ingredients by Prima, and the color of glass bead is called Butter. And I also used Ranger's Liquid Pearls, and this one was kind of a silvery pearly kind of color. It's maybe white. Eh, it's hard to know because they have so many colors that are all pearlescent, but it's kind of a whitey silver, and I used that in the center of the flowers and then pushed one of the glass beads down into the center of the flowers. So here I am, I'm just kind of taking all the stuff that I've got stacked in front of me and I'm adding it to that pile, and just adding and adding and adding until it grows to a point where it seems balanced to the eye. So yeah, the metal leaves that are under there, they came from my mixed media kit as well. And here are some white flowers that are also part of the Michael's dollar bin sets. And so yeah, I just kind of keep embellishing until it's exactly as I wanted it to be. And it grows and grows and grows. And the thing that I love most about mixed media is that I don't really, in every other creative genre, there's always a place to stop. Whereas I don't find that I'm as restricted in where I need to stop when it comes to mixed media. It seems like my over-the-top kind of adds to that and isn't really a flaw. It's more an asset than anything else. But yes, this 3D gloss gel is absolutely fabulous as a glue. It's absolutely fabulous as to hold everything together and to you know, dry nice and solid and hold it all together. I've done a lot of projects where I've done the assemblage and it's just driven me crazy because none of the glues that I use stick for long enough. So then I end up getting out my hot glue gun, and by the time that I have my hot glue gun out and have gotten to the end of this type of process, I'm so frustrated. I mean, trying to glue on all those little leaves on both a textured surface and on the grassy surface, which feels like a moss, that would have just driven me absolutely insane. So having the 3D gloss gel for this project was an absolute lifesaver. And I did just discover it, so I'm going to have to go buy a whole new jug of this stuff. Or maybe I should enter into a Craftaholics Anonymous group. So yeah, I just keep adding and adding and adding, and but by the time that I get to this, I still do look at it and go, okay, well, something here is missing. Something's not quite right. I've got this beautiful, fabulous jewel blue all around the back side of this, and the blue flowers on the front kind of pull it in, but they don't really pull it in. So what I end up doing is taking some of that jewel blue and adding it in other places once I get all these little leaves on. So I don't really do anything precise when I'm adding in the jewel blue. What I end up doing is just spattering it. I water it down a little bit with a pipette and a little bit of stuff in a container with the chalkboard paint. Mix it all up nice so that it's a homogeneous mixture or homogeneous mixture, and then I take two brushes and spatter it all over the piece. And that brings the color from the back of the frame to the front of the frame and makes it all a little bit more cohesive. It makes it look like it belongs together. So I kind of run out of these leaves, and I'm just at the point where it's starting to look like I actually have vines growing and things aren't quite random. So if I had done another set of leaves, then I could have made it look a little bit better, but as it is, I'm quite happy with it. I did end up adding a few more of the green leaves that were part of the flowers, and the reason that I did that is because I needed a little bit more of that shade of green. By the time I was done, it wasn't quite where I wanted it to be. So once all those leaves are nice and in there, then I move on to my next step here. So as I'm doing this, I'm kind of looking at it and I'm going, I've got more product in my mixed media kit. What am I going to do? What am I going to use next? And the thing that I thought that this was missing was a little bit of sparkle. So I really loved the texture and how the light shone off the texture of the bricks and made them nice and shiny and textury. But when the light wasn't shining directly on it, it didn't have enough sparkle. So I took my glossy accents from Ranger and I sprinkled the art sugar from Finnabair Art Ingredients in the charcoal color over top of it. So this charcoal color of the art sugar was absolutely perfect for this project. And what it ended up doing was created this shimmery shine all across the bricks. And that gave them a little bit of magic, a little bit of whimsy. And it allowed those bricks to shine and the leaves and grass and stuff to shine without having the light directly on them. So it does give a little bit of a magical impression. So here I am grabbing the chalkboard paint, mixing a little bit up. Oh, wait. First, if you look off to the side there where I have all of those flowers, I was looking at that side going, there's something wrong here. Something is definitely wrong here. I've got 3 sets of bunches of things, but there's still something wrong here. And what I decided it was is that I had all this big flourish across that one corner and across the bottom. Then I had a flourish that was quite close right up the top, and then one in the diagonally opposite corner. The problem that I was having is that there wasn't really a balance. I needed to somehow join the piece that was at the top on the left-hand side of it, or right-hand side to you in the video, and the piece that, or the big pile of flowers at the bottom. I had to join those together somehow. And this chipboard bust just happened to be laying there innocently, and so it's what got the paint, and it got the glitter glue, and the glitter glue was not cooperating at all. I did get quite frustrated with it, and I was quite tempted to toss the whole thing in the garbage by the time I was done, because the tip kept falling off. So there was no way to save it. So once it was covered in glitter glue, I set it aside to dry, and here I am spattering the jewel blue chalkboard paint to bring everything together. And I did that before I put the bust on because the glitter glue is wet still. And there we go. That is the finished product for these flowers, for this whole project. There's the bust with covered in glitter. I added in my own wedding picture to this frame. There we go. The left side, the middle, and the right side, looking through a fairy tale window. Thank you for joining me on Lizzie's workshop with the Kraaft Shaak design team.